All right. Hello. I have Nathyn Montagano here with me today for Tip Tuesday. Today, we are going to discuss health insurance for small businesses, and specifically, is health insurance tax deductible? So, Nathan here has been in the health insurance industry for the past 3 years. He specializes in private insurance and works primarily with small business owners to help them to have the coverage they need for themselves and their employees. So, I'd like to welcome you, Nathan. Hello.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Absolutely. So, share with us a little bit about what you have going on right now. I know it's what, open enrollment?
It is open enrollment right now, so there's roughly 200 million Americans that are looking for health coverage. And the coverage that I actually specialize in, you can't just Google it. There's only about 2,000 agents in the entire country that actually have access to it. So of course, there's my website down below if you guys need it, and I'm sure there'll be some other plugs throughout the way.
Absolutely.
But basically, it's an alternative solution to the marketplace, right?
Yeah.
What the public marketplace is designed for is for people who qualify for a very large subsidy, government subsidy, or who have major pre-existing conditions, right? And the way that they kind of work when it comes to the taxes is they basically give you tax credits on the front end that you can claim, and basically it will reduce your monthly cost. On the private side, where it's a little bit different when it comes to taxes, especially, is that basically, as an independent business owner or somebody who's 1099, you can actually write them off at the end of the year. So basically, what I tell people is you can protect your most valuable asset and also get one of your largest tax deductions. So it's kind of a win-win, no-brainer, if you will, if you can qualify for the plans. But yeah, that's kind of what we got going on. The plans themselves, they are through the largest healthcare provider in the world. They're on the largest nationwide PPO network. They'll give you more access to more doctors, more hospitals than any other plan in the country. And that's also one of the biggest faults of the marketplace, right? Is that you're going to get sucked into what's called an HMO or an EPO network, which essentially means you're only going to have coverage in your county, maybe a few surrounding counties, definitely nothing outside of state. So that's why that three-letter acronym that's going to be up in the top left or right-hand corner of your card is extremely important.
Okay, great. So, what you're saying here is, as a business owner, if you travel a lot and something happens to you while you're out on business, it can have a huge impact on your health coverage if you're going through the marketplace.
Yeah, and actually, believe it or not, 66% of all bankruptcies that occur in this country are due to medical bankruptcy, right? Because people think, a lot of people think I'm young, I'm healthy, I don't need health insurance, right? Question I always like to ask is, when was the last time you've met someone who's accurately predicted their next heart attack?
Wow.
It's just never happened, right? So you just never know. And if you are on a plan such as an HMO, and let's say you live in the great state of Texas, and you decide to come visit Sydney, and I believe you're in Georgia, right?
I'm in Texas.
You're in Texas?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so maybe then you want to come visit me in Florida. You will have absolutely no coverage whatsoever when you're in Florida, so you'll be stuck paying the entirety of whatever your medical bills are. So God forbid you do have that heart attack. They're not going to fly you back to Texas so you can have coverage. They're going to give you you're going to have a procedure. If it's a triple bypass, for instance, they average right around $350,000, and you would be on the hook for the entirety of that.
Wow. That's a pretty hefty price to pay for not having coverage. That's what would we consider it, universal or?
So it's universal in the sense of everybody and anybody can qualify for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually may have been mistaken there when I said that. I believe you'll have an out of network, like max out of pocket, but it will be like normally if your max out of pocket was 8,000, it's going to be like 3 to 4 times more than that.
Got
So
it.
you're still going to be looking at paying, $30,000 ish, somewhere in that crazy range like that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, it's universal in the sense that everybody qualifies for the marketplace, right? A lot of people will say, "Oh, I don't qualify for the marketplace," and what you don't qualify for is government assistance, right? Um, it's not that you don't qualify; that everybody qualifies. That's what the marketplace is designed for.
True.
It's for people who have major pre-existing conditions,
Hmm.
like myself, for instance. I can't qualify for the private plans, so I'm stuck with an ACA plan. Or if I get, were ever to go back into corporate America, then I could actually get some good health coverage. Uh,
Okay.
Other than that, I'm stuck with a EPO that's got me stuck. I can see four specialists maybe in the entire country that will accept the health coverage. And I mean, hopefully it's during the week when they'll actually accept it as well too.
Yes. And so I guess I don't know if it's a benefit, a caveat to this, but it also brings about the importance of long-term care because given the example that you just shared, if you did have a heart attack and you have that $300,000 medical bill, if you at least had long-term care coverage, which would cover you in the event of a major health incident where you couldn't perform 2 of the 6 activities of daily living, that long-term care insurance would help to supplement some of that cost that you would incur, correct?
Yeah, I mean that's more. I think you're more your realm, but yeah, I mean, like for instance, the plans that I specialize in, if you ever end up in the hospital, they're going to pay you $800 a day.
Yes.
So you get paid $800 a day for any time you're in the hospital or the
Mm,
ICU. So you end up, and basically the way it works is after the first day and for up to 30 days, they're going to pay you that amount of money. Beauty of that being is, that basically is going to satisfy and cover whatever your deductible and max out of pocket would be.
mhm.
So, if there is an extended stay where you're in the hospital or something along those lines, you will be, it essentially will pay for itself on the private side. As to where even if you're on a marketplace, let's say you are in network, um, all of the plans have ridiculously high deductibles on them, and you don't have any upfront benefits. So what that means is that if you have an $8,000 deductible and you pay $0 a month for your plan, well, guess what? You still have to come up with that $8,000 for that deductible.
Absolutely. So, um, as a business owner, it sounds like what's in the best interest of the business owner is to look into private insurance, health insurance coverage, see if there is the ability to qualify,
Mhm.
especially as the business owner.
Yep.
And you offer group plans as well, so if they had a staff you could support
We
them as well.
we would do it individually basis, which there's a lot of benefits to that too, right? Because as a business owner, if you offer a group plan, then you also have to offer what's called Cobra. So if you
Right.
fire an employee or an employee leaves or for whatever reason they lose
Mhm.
benefits, you have to offer them coverage for up to 18 months. And the way that the private side would work is we would do it by an individual basis. And then the plan would, and how most businesses do it is the business owner themselves will pay some sort of stipend, say $300 a month or whatever, towards their health insurance, which
Okay.
is also once again a tax deduction. Um,
Absolutely.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I
It,
believe that's also a
you're
tax deduction.
absolutely right.
Okay. Yeah. So, that's usually how, whenever I work with a business who has, 6, 10, 12, 15 employees,
Mhm.
that's usually the way that I recommend to do it, just because it's a lot less of a headache for that actual business owner.
Yeah. So in that case, it would be a tax deduction for both sides. The employer would get a deduction for the stipend or the amount that they're supplementing to the employee, And then the employee would be able to write off the difference of what they're paying on the premiums on
Yeah, and
their
I mean,
tax return.
if they're contractors, then they get the advantage of writing it all off.
Absolutely, they can write off 100%. If they're not, they itemize on their individual return, then they get the benefit of writing off their medical premiums as well as any costs incurred for doctor's visits, prescriptions, and all of those good things. So, yeah, that's a great way of getting some extra deductions. And back on the business owner side, when we talk about tax deductions, that self-employed health insurance deduction is pretty helpful. It gives the business owner a nice write-off to write off their personal insurance premiums.
Yeah, I mean, you're also protecting your most valuable asset, which is you, right? Because most business owners, I mean, there's 31 million small businesses in America. 25 of those 31 million are solopreneurs, right?
Exactly.
No employees. And that's kind of one of the things too, right? Like when we leave corporate America and they kind of just throw us to the wolves, they don't really remind us like, hey, like you don't get any benefits. Like you need to go find health insurance.
Yeah.
And like, we're not going to help you with that. Like no one's going to help you with that. Right. So that's where I come in, right? Honestly, it's pretty much like 70-30 to the people that I can help and actually where I make a benefit off of it. However, it's not about me. It's about whoever I'm talking to on the other end of the phone. And no matter what, worst case scenario, if anyone talks to me, you're going to know the best place to go to get health coverage. Whether it's through the private side or whether it's through the marketplace or, if, there's a very, very, very slim chance that like if I know you're going to get employer coverage 2 months down the road, we might send you in the direction of like a short-term limited benefit plan.
Okay.
But you got to be really careful with those because they're missing the most important element of health insurance, which is by far true max out of pocket, because that's your financial stop loss, right? So anytime you hear anybody kind of trying to pitch you on, oh yeah, this has a max out of pocket of $5 million, and then what they're going to say is there's a cap of $250,000 a year on there. So what that's saying is that if you stay in the plan for 15 years and you run up $250,000 a year, then you would run into that lifetime maximum. But that's not a real max out of pocket. Basically, what they're saying is that throughout the course of the year, the maximum they're going to pay is $250,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a very, very important thing. Anytime you hear the words, and like what they're doing too is they get a little tricky with it, right? There's like one company I won't call out by name that starts with an A, but what they do is they say, oh, this is a 3-year term plan. Okay, but what they don't tell you is that the term doesn't mean how long the plan lasts for. When we're talking short-term plans, like for instance, this plan's a 3-year plan, like it's kind of contracted as, but the term is actually how often they're basically resetting your like medical things that have happened to you, right? So let's
like
say
a renewal, like an annual renewal.
Yeah, but it's like more for pre-existing conditions, right? So let's say it's on a 3-month cycle.
Okay.
But it's 3 years long, right? So every 3 months, let's say the first in the first 3 months you incur a knee injury. Well, guess what? On the second 3 months, you no longer have coverage for that knee injury.
Oh my goodness.
They're not going to cover any pre-existing conditions.
Wow.
So you got to be really, really careful whenever you're dealing with health insurance and short-term limited benefit plans. Like I said, they're made pretty much only to, like, if you know for sure that you have 2 months between, like employer coverage or something like that, and obviously you're healthy and don't really have anything too much to worry about. That's not the only time I would ever suggest going with one of those plans. Other than that, you definitely want to plan with a true max out of pocket, and that's the most important question to ask: is does this plan have a true max out of pocket? And if they say, oh yeah, it's got $5 million max out of pocket, with a cap of, if you hear that word cap, they're lying.
Yeah, 'cause there isn't one, right?
Yeah, I mean, if the word cap is in there, that means there's a cap on the amount of benefits that the insurance company is going to pay.
Wow.
Stay
Okay.
away from
So
that.
it's in their benefit, not yours.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Yes. And then,
Yeah.
so anytime you hear that word cap, just know that that is not a good thing. And that's not it's not real health insurance either.
Right. And yeah, and that's kind of similar or I don't know, in the same realm of what I tell my clients when I'm talking to them about life insurance. It's you want to be careful what you allow, your doctors to put in your medical records and even prescribe to you as a medication. Like I've made the mistake myself.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I had no intention on taking the medication that was prescribed, but I let them give me the slip anyway. Never got it filled, but it went in on my record to say that I was prescribed this
Yep.
particular thing. Luckily, I haven't been impacted by it, but you definitely want to be mindful.
It's put on what's called your IntelliScript, right? So,
Yeah.
like, for instance, like the plans that I deal with on the private side, they're medically underwritten. So what that simply means is it's not nearly as invasive as life insurance, right? They don't come poke and prod with you with any needles. They just simply look through your medical records,
Right.
And the things that they're looking for, or they're going to look through your medical records, and then also what's called your IntelliScript, which is your prescription history.
Right.
So, like, let's say you had that one time where your back hurt. You go to the doctors and they give you one fill of Flexerol or whatever muscle relaxer. Well, now the way that the insurance company is going to view that is well, you have some sort of pre-existing back condition that required you to take maybe 2 or 3 of these fills of medication, which at that point in time is now going to basically get you an instant decline.
Right.
And that's kind of just like the situation that I'm in because I have 2 herniated discs in my spine.
Mm.
So that's kind of why I'm a no-go on the private side. So you definitely always want to be careful, and doctors are, they're incentivized to give you prescriptions. Just always keep that in mind. There's a reason that the pharmaceutical company is the #1 grossing industry in the United States of America. If you didn't know that, nobody makes more money than big pharma. So like even stuff like we see now that's going on with the COVID vaccines, and we think like, oh, they're free. Just know that they're not free.
They're not free.
Your tax dollars are paying for those, and they're going to the wealthiest industry in the entire country, which is big pharma.
Exactly. I know. And that conversation can go on forever.
Especially with me, because I love talking politics. That's
There's
my
just so much.
And I love to expose, the phonies that are out there that call themselves, patriots and this and that. And Anthony Fauci with directly giving his wife money at Pfizer or whatever the heck it's called.
Right.
You're no patriot, man. You're a scam artist and a whole heck of a lot of other things that I don't want to really not that kind of type of person. But
we're gonna keep it PG.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it PG. But just know that nothing's free. Like the government doesn't give things out.
Nothing is free.
Yes,
somebody's paying for it.
Yep, and it's us. Your taxpayer money is what paid for all of those free vaccines. By the way,
exactly.
In case anyone was wondering.
Yeah, there will be a tax bill coming from somewhere. Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, let us know. You said your website is right there. It's mam.com. Yes.
And
where else can we find you?
Where else can you find me? That's a great question. If you do my first name _ last name, so Nathyn with a Y _ Montagano. Of course, Instagram has to be difficult, but that's the best place to follow me on Instagram. And I mean, honestly, if you just type in the words MAM health coverage, you'll be able to find me.
Yes, and I'll post all of this in the description section. So just look below, and you can find everywhere Nathyn is trying to hide. You will find him. So just look in the description. Be sure to reach out to Nathyn with any questions you have about health insurance, whether it's individual or business, because there's benefits on both sides. Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you're on
Let's do this.
YouTube. If you're following Nathyn on Instagram, be sure to share.
That's the easiest way.
Yeah.
That's my cell phone, direct access right to me. You have any questions, concerns? That's the best way to get a hold of me right there.
All right.
I'm trying to get somebody to have a request for the dog. They wanted to see my puppy, but she hides under the couch when we do things like this. So
Okay. Yeah, mine is here doing his thing.
Right.
So
as we all are.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time, Nathyn. We will definitely have to do this again.
Yeah, definitely. We've got some big things coming up too. So
yeah,
waiting to hear from a real big announcement, hopefully coming up here soon.
Woo-hoo. We are excited to hear that for sure.
Definitely.
I can't wait.
Especially for our 10X community goers. It's could be pretty game changer.
Yes, we're on the edge of our seats rooting for you.
So yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate that very much. But yeah, any other questions or
no, does anyone have any questions who's viewing live?
Private health coverage is the way to go, folks. If you can qualify for it, I promise you there is no better health coverage in the country. And like I said, when they talk about Obamacare in the marketplace, just know it's a very socialistic system. And what ends up happening is people who are, can afford to pay for a plan, you're stuck paying for the people who can't. And even when you get this massive subsidy, and you get this plan that's, I've got a family of 4 and we're only paying $200. Just remember that you have no accident protection on the job. You have no coverage outside of your county. And in both in Texas and in Florida, the only options you have on the marketplace are HMOs and EPOs.
Mm-hmm.
But you can go ahead and call this number right here below. Reach out to me directly, or like I said, MAM, anything online, or Nathyn Montagano, and we can see if we can get you qualified for private health coverage. And my vegan fitness goddess over here, you definitely should give me a call because you're literally an ideal candidate because you are one of the healthiest people I've ever seen, without a doubt.
Yes.
Cindy, I don't know if you follow her on Instagram, but she's always posting herself working out, and
oh my goodness,
I'm talking like
she'll make me feel bad.
No, super encouraging.
I'll feel guilty I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to do one jumping jack, just one.
Hey, gotta start somewhere. 1 turns into 2, 2 turns into 3.
Yes, I'm gonna get going. I'm gonna get started.
That's the hardest part.
Yes. So one more tip I have for those who are in the state of California. If you do not have health insurance, make sure you get health insurance because California is still charging a penalty if you do not have coverage and you do not want to pay that. I believe it's $750 for not having coverage. So
yeah, I'm not even sure because basically the way it works, right, is in like extremely liberal states, this isn't to be political at all, but in like a place like California, which would probably be considered the most liberal state, they're not big on private insurance and they want you to go on Obamacare.
Mm-hmm.
I love Obama. I'm a huge President Obama fan.
Huge fan.
However, he had a great intention. It was just poorly executed. And the whole reason I actually got into health insurance is because I do have political aspirations and I couldn't change something I knew nothing about. So now that I'm in the game and I kind of have a little bit better understanding, I see there's infinite room for improvement. Mm-hmm. Because it's not benefiting people in the way that it was meant to, for sure.
Absolutely. And if you are on the marketplace and you happen to travel quite frequently, definitely look at your plan. If you find that you are not covered while you're traveling, definitely contact me. We can discuss long-term care insurance so that you have a backup plan for those medical costs in the event of a major emergency.
Yep.
So we can also talk about the life insurance side as well and how that can supplement the health insurance.
Yep. And I'm sure you're probably fluent in HSAs and things like that as well too.
Absolutely.
That's not my jam, to be completely honest.
Yes.
I understand. I have an understanding of them, but that's just not something I usually deal with. But sounds like, honestly, Sydney and I are pretty much a match made in heaven, and we can pretty much help you out no matter what.
Yeah.
One way or the other, we could definitely help you. So
We
I
can
would
help you on
strongly
both
suggest
sides.
reaching out to one of the other, and we know how to get a hold of each other.
Absolutely.
We're part of a strong 10X family and community together. And we all love to help each other as business grows. So always feel free to reach out to either of us, and we will point you in the direction that's going to be best for you, honestly, in the end.
Absolutely. Totally transparent and definitely looking out for the best interests of the client and the taxpayer.
That's right. That's
all
right. I
right.
can't lie. It's not in me. It's just like I can't. My father taught me at a very young age, and he's my hero, and everything I do is in his name. And I'd rather lose a deal or lose a friend. I tell all my friends who are girls, like, I'm not the person to come ask if you look good or bad in something, because I'm not going to be the guy that's going to just tell you look good because that's what you want to hear.
Yes.
So don't ask me for my opinion unless it's the honest truth, because that's all I know how to do is just give that. And just
I'm with you there.
So
I'm the same way. I like to be honest, truthful. It may hurt, but it's coming from a loving place.
Exactly.
So want to make sure we're getting you the right information that's going to help you in the long run. It may not be the best advice for the short term, but maybe there are some changes and adjustments that can be made for the long term that will help you to reach that goal that you were aspiring for. So that's always the place that I'm coming from.
Yep, definitely, without a doubt. And also, too, silly me, one of the biggest benefits of the private side plans is their guaranteed renewal until 65. Meaning you sign up today, you get approved tomorrow, you literally never have to worry about coverage again until you turn 65 years old. So like for myself at 33, that would be another 30 some odd years before I'd ever have 32 years before I'd ever have to worry about health coverage, right? Like I'd be on that plan no matter what. Doesn't matter if you get cancer, heart attack, stroke, anything, you just pay your deductible max out of pocket, and you're on that plan forever. And then, like I said, it's going to give you
more access to
doctors, hospitals,
while you're young and healthy.
Exactly. Yeah. Before something happens, you'd be surprised at how many people I talk to. I literally just spoke to this young man the other day, and he's like, "Hey, Nate, I just had this accident. Can you help me out now?" I go, "Trying to tell you, dude." I'm like, he's like, "I had a four-wheeling accident or something crazy," and he like broke his leg, and I'm like, "Dude, there's a timeline now. We've got to wait for a year. You've got to be released by the doctor. We've got to go through all these crazy things." Like,
jump through the hoops.
Yep. If you're healthy now, jump on it.
Jump on it. At least have the conversation. Even if you can't jump on it, have the conversation. That's the most important part, so that you know what you're up against.
And just to clarify too, this is a very like a big misnomer out there, is there is health coverage for everyone in this country. Mm-hmm. It does not matter if you make $0 or $100 million or anywhere in between. There is coverage that you can find that'll be close to at least affordable, right? But just like if you, for instance, like maybe during COVID you didn't work at all, that's what Medicaid's for.
Yeah,
it's a government funded, state issued program. It's very commonly used for a lot of children. Actually, it's usually called the CHIP program. In Texas, it's called something else. I know in Georgia it's called the Peach program. But there's all kinds of programs.
In California, it's Healthy Families.
Yep. I don't know much about California because they don't like us there too much. I mean, I don't like the whole 14% state tax thing. So,
Yeah, that's
they can go ahead and keep that.
yeah.
I'll stick to Florida or Texas or maybe hopefully Arizona soon, actually.
Ooh, all right. Go Scottsdale.
That's actually exactly where I'm heading, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Well,
Fingers
great.
crossed.
Any more questions?
Anything left for us, folks? I
No,
think
we're
we
gonna.
did a great job, covered quite a bit.
All right. Well, awesome. Well, we will definitely do this again.
For sure.
Thank you, Nathyn, for joining me today on my Tip Tuesday, sharing tips for business owners who are looking for health insurance coverage.
Thank you very much for having me, Sydney. I greatly appreciate it. And I look forward to speaking with you soon.
All right. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Do the same. Bye bye.
Bye.